folks, Jonathan here, out here in the sunshine. Beautiful, hot, toasty sunshine. Anyway, working on the rollback. I actually done some video, and I deleted the video, and I was saving it up to edit. So anyway, so we're gonna have to sort of start over on this. Front headache bar. Got it done. It's painted and ready to put on, and we're going to put it on here in just a few minutes. But I wanted to show you something, and I had went through all this before, but like I said, I deleted it. So okay, aluminum beds, of course, you know, most wrecker drivers and companies and businesses don't like them, and I don't care for them myself, you know, especially junk cars. But you know, it is what it is. The problem I found with this particular design, which this is a Jerridan, when I built my homemade bed, my bar going across the front here was 4x4, and thick wall, square tubing, you know, a lot of strength, and you know, for the twisting and all, that's, you know, assumed, of course, that's what you need. And anything from here out on both sides is all overhang, you know, overhang from where you're mounted at on your frame. And you know, your tire of your truck or car sits all the way out here, so you know, you've got all your weight on this, and then you know, you're going down the road bouncing. So you know, if you've got 1,000 pounds of weight here and you're starting to bounce, you know, you can double that weight pretty easy, and maybe even more. But the problem is, and you can probably see on this one, and I don't know how this is with this bright light, but anyway, we're cracked here, and looks like we've got a crack here. And if you look at this bed, and it may be, you know, like I said, hard to see on camera, but you know, and it's really hard to see when you're when you don't have anything up there, you know, a straight edge to go from. But from the winch out, this thing drops about a 1/2 inch on each side. And what I've done is, you know, I had a headache bar on. I took a jack and a block in the center, and I jacked the center up with the bar that goes under the window on my headache bar. And I got this as straight as I could get it, and then I added a 2x2 across it on the bottom of the headache bar to help support it, because there's really no use in my opinion, and from past experience, there's no use in going and having that welded up and expecting this piece, which is what, 2 inch tall by, looks like 3/8 thick, you know, to actually hold this weight like it, you know, like you would think it should. And if you look, here's some cracks. It's cracked here. I mean, it's just the problem is they'll never stop. And if you weld it, you know, from past experience, it looks like it might be starting there. But what'll happen is if you weld it, it'll crack right around the weld. And so anyway, your best bet on this is to go back and try to brace with aluminum. And I've actually, now I didn't do this for my own truck, I done it for somebody else's truck years back. They was having trouble with their tailboard, and you know, some of the older trucks, they would like to get loose and break loose. Anyway, I bent around at the back and sheeted this back section with steel. So you know, about your best bet is to try to reinforce and bolt steel back in. Seen the same thing on one of these Jerridan beds. And you might be able to see this one. Let's crawl up under. See, maybe if they changed the design since I've done it. Well, it's the same design. Okay, you see how the single cylinder goes on this cross member, and this looks like it's 1/2 inch, maybe a little thinner than that, aluminum. A guy's busted out, and you know, you got a cylinder just running through with a nut on it. That's it. You know, there's no extra plating, nothing, you know, on that. And you know, coming up and down, back and forth, you know, with the weight of a car, you know, if this thing ever starts cracking and breaking, you're pretty much screwed on it. But what I've done, or what I've done on his, is I actually took the entire cross member out and I just bolted a steel cross member in. And luckily, where this bed slides, as you can see, there's nothing in the center. It's sliding on top and bottom. I was able to come through, and I used carriage bolts from the outside and went through and drilled it and bolted a cross member in it. But you know, your best bet on an aluminum bed is anytime something breaks on it, try to replace back with steel. And you know, I solved the problem on his bed, and that's been 10 or 15 years ago, you know, and he's still using it daily. And it's about totally wore out. His rails are about worn through. You know, they're really bad about that, but over time. But like I said, this bed eventually is going to be just for hauling or just a trailer. But I'm sure if we look this thing over really hard, well, it's caught right there one time and cracked. You know, the problem is you know, this is no big deal. You know, strength-wise, this probably wouldn't hurt a thing, but just imagine if this was steel. It'd take me, you know, 5 minutes to hammer this back around, get it straight, and weld it. It'd never cracked out like that anyway if it had been steel. But you know, I don't know what, besides maybe up north, you know, you wouldn't have any rust issues. Besides that, I see no advantage whatsoever to aluminum bed. There's not enough weight difference to do it. You know, I heard that for years. It's, you know, about the weight, but you know, that's not a fact. You know, we're not running 1-ton trucks no more as wreckers or as, you know, rollbacks. So that really don't affect much. And you know, once this aluminum wears out on this rail, you're pretty much screwed anyway. So, but what we'll do eventually here, this is an I-beam, and I can get this piece of I-beam exactly like this in steel. Get, you know, 2 20-foot sections, and then we'll basically just build this bed back as steel and slide this thing off, slide a new one on. And you know, everything else on your tilt frame and all that is steel, so you don't have to worry about none of that. And yeah, I'm sure there's plenty more cracks and breaks and stuff like that in this bed. You know, they're all like that. I mean, if they've got any time on them, you have a lot of trouble in the corners too. And then, you know, from hitting concrete, lowering them down all the time, you know, you end up wearing through the bottom. And once they wear through the bottom, they'll start cracking apart. You can see it's busted here. That's where someone's winched up on it. And this bed's too narrow. I don't know that I've seen a bed this narrow. I think it's narrower than any of my other ones. And it's fixed sides. I don't like that. You know, I like one of two things: removable sides, or sides that are low enough that you can pull a building up on. The sides on the one I made are about a 1/2 inch. You know, they don't stick up much at all. And you can, if you do it right, you can get your support out of it without having to, you know, have a high side. I understand that, I'm sure these, you know, they're part of the strength of the bed, and probably a lot of the strength of the bed, but you know, you don't absolutely have to have that. And as you can see, you know, we got to do some lock work on it. But this is where the locks came up and held, and as you can see, they're busted out on both sides. And you know, I'm not saying that steel don't bust out and stuff. It's just the fact that if it was steel, you could fix it. You know, it's an easy job. And with aluminum, it's almost, you know, I'm not going to say an impossible job, but close to it. But anyway, we're going to get this headache bar and get it on, and I'll show it to you. Okay, here's our finished headache bar. And nothing special, just basically 2 headache bars welded together to make one. These side uprights is off one. This center's off of the original. This piece off the original. I had to cut it and extend it, and I added the bottom bar in, and I had to cut these loose, the brackets loose from the original, and you know, put them onto this one. But that's the bar I added in. And like I said, I ran a jack between the deck of the bed and right here, put a board under here, and I jacked it until it raised both sides, outsides of the bed up, and then I added this piece in. Now, you know, this piece, yeah, it may bow. I mean, the chances of it holding the bed exactly straight are probably pretty slim, but you know, it's going to give the support. It's going to it's not going to crack and break out like that piece of aluminum. And as you'll see when I get it bolted on there, it will sit exactly perfect with that piece of aluminum that's up there. There won't be any gaps between it, you know, making it look like it's bowed. So anyway, we'll get this thing on there and see how it turns out. Okay, folks, this should give you a little better idea of what I'm talking about, what I'm dealing with. You can see the gap in here, and it goes right on over to the other side. And I haven't bolted the headache bar down yet, but once I bolt it down, it's going to do one of two things. It's going to either pick up on the outsides or it's going to bow my pipe. And either way, it's going to strengthen it and bring it together, so it will be just fine. So we'll get it bolted down here and see how she looks. Okay, folks, it's on permanent now. I think we're going to go ahead and get the light on, but I'll show you what I was talking about. Closing the gap up. As you can see, we don't have a gap now. So between, you know, supporting it and pulling it together, and I'm sure, you know, maybe my 2-inch bowed a little bit, but you know, I could come right here and put uprights between here and the next bar up and make it stronger, but I don't think we need it. You know, sometimes a little bit of flex is better than none whatsoever. So, but I think it's good to go. We're going to go ahead and get the light on and keep at it. All right, show you more. Okay, well, we got the light bar sitting up there. I've got a tow to go do, so I'll get back on it when I get back. All right. Okay, folks, we've got a light on it. Really not the light that I usually run. I usually run a strobe lights, but this light was on it when I got it, and it worked good. And we're going to run it for a while. I've got to extend the wires down on it. It's a Force 4LP, which I don't know if I've ever run one of them before or not, but I got to where I bought about 100 light bars from the state on auction, and I build the light bars the way I want them out of the parts that they, you know, off them light bars. And trying to think of the name of what them are, but I think they're made by Federal. But anyway, I wanted to get all the trucks to have the same light bar. That way I'd have a lens for, you know, that would fit all the trucks. Because you know, when I had drivers, I've had drivers that would pull in the driveway and knock one lens off, and then they'd pull out of the driveway and knock the other lens off. And anyway, I've got to get the bed locks on. The bed is actually kind of sitting funny. Of course, the truck's sitting funny is why. But anyway, we'll get the locks on, and I guess this video mostly was complaining about an aluminum bed, but you know, the truth's the truth, right? But I think Jared should have done a little better job designing that front. That wasn't the best design I've seen for sure. But we're getting really close. I gotta extend the wires down, hook them up, and I've got the switches in the truck and everything. I've got the wires run out of the switches, so I've just got to run them back here to the back. And most everything's about done, except of course, like I said, I'm going to paint it red. And I do have to get the toolbox on this side. I almost forgot about that. But everything else is ready to roll, and I appreciate everybody watching, and I'll keep everybody updated on it. Alright, till next time. Bye.